The sun dipped below the horizon at land between the lakes, casting long shadows across the campsite. A group of friends, Emily, Jake, Sarah, and Mark, had set up their tents near the water's edge, excited for a weekend of camping and storytelling by the fire. As night fell, they gathered around the crackling flames, roasting marshmallows and sharing ghost stories. Emily, the most skeptical of the group, laughed at the tales of werewolves that haunted the woods, dismissing them as mere folklore. "There's no such thing as werewolves," she said, smirking. "Just myths to scare little kids." But as the fire flickered and the wind whispered through the trees, a low growl pierced the air, sending shivers down their spines. Jake, attempting to lighten the mood, jumped up. "It's probably just a raccoon. I'll go check it out." "Don't be stupid," Sarah protested, her voice trembling. "It's late, and we don't know what's out there." But Jake laughed it off, grabbing a flashlight and striding into the darkness. The rest of the group watched anxiously as he disappeared among the trees. Minutes passed, and unease settled over them like a heavy fog. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence. It echoed through the woods, and the friends shot to their feet. "Jake!" Emily shouted, fear gripping her heart. They rushed toward the sound, their flashlights dancing nervously through the trees. As they approached a clearing, they found Jake's flashlight flickering on the ground, illuminating the underbrush stained with something dark and red. "Jake!" Mark called out, voice shaking. There was no response. Then they heard it. A low, guttural growl coming from the shadows behind a tree. The air grew heavy with dread as a massive shape emerged, its eyes glowing like embers in the dark. The creature stood on two legs, its body covered in thick, matted fur. Long claws glinted in the dim light as it snarled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Emily's heart raced as she realized the stories had been true. "Run!" she screamed, and the group bolted back toward the campsite, adrenaline propelling them through the underbrush. Branches whipped against their skin as they fled, the sound of heavy footsteps pounding behind them. They burst into the clearing where their tents stood, scrambling for anything they could use to defend themselves. Mark grabbed a heavy branch, while Sarah clutched a camping lantern. Just as they turned to face the creature, it lunged from the darkness, massive jaws snapping inches from Emily's face. She barely dodged, the stench of its breath filling the air. They swung the branch and lantern, trying to fend off the beast, but it was relentless. In a moment of desperation, Sarah turned and sprinted toward the lake, hoping to find safety on the water's edge. "We can't let it trap us!" she shouted, her voice barely rising above the chaos. The others followed, hearts pounding, fear pushing them forward. As they reached the water, they glanced back to see the werewolf standing at the edge of the trees, its eyes locked onto them. It hesitated, then let out a bone-chilling howl that echoed across the campsite, sending chills down their spines. "We can't stay here!" Emily cried, searching frantically for a way to escape. The creature snarled, advancing slowly, its massive form silhouetted against the moonlit sky. Then Mark spotted a canoe tied to a nearby dock. "Over here! We can paddle across the lake!" He sprinted toward it, the others close behind. They jumped into the canoe, frantically untethering it, but as they pushed away from the shore, the werewolf lunged, snapping at the edge of the boat. They paddled with all their might, hearts racing as they drifted further into the darkness. But the werewolf was relentless. It followed the shoreline, its growls echoing in the night. The friends paddled harder, panic rising as the creature circled them, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Suddenly, Sarah let out a terrified scream as the canoe tipped precariously to one side. They fought to keep it steady, but the beast lunged again, clawing at the edge, sending them tumbling into the icy water. As they struggled to swim, the werewolf leapt into the lake, splashing toward them. Emily gasped for air, fear consuming her as she watched the creature close in. They were helpless in the dark water, the full moon casting a ghostly glow over the chaos. In the final moments, as the creature loomed over them, teeth bared and eyes wild, Emily realized the horror of the legends. There was no escape. The stories had been true all along, and in this cursed place, they were nothing more than prey. The last thing she heard before everything went black was the sound of the werewolf's triumphant howl, echoing through the night, a chilling reminder that some nightmares were all too real.